In most of my videos I present a successful repair. This video is different. I'll show you what didn't work. Repeatedly I decided to overdo things and none of the steps I took worked. So here's the damage. I have a tragic story with this speedometer here. The issue with it was, as I was preparing the bike for sale, is that I cleaned the outside of the glass. It was nice and not cracked, beautiful piece. And as I cleaned it, I noticed that it was dirty on the underside, on the inside of the glass. I had a second issue with the speedometer, that the needle was lazy. It wasn't steady. It was always bouncing. Okay? So I thought, I'm gonna have 2 flies killed with one swat. Why don't I just remove it from the bracket there, which I did. I disconnected the speedometer cable there. I took out the light bulbs because those are just friction fit into these holes, and I poured in a generous amount of, where is it, lacquer thinner, thinking that whatever is making the needle bounce inside the mechanism, a little bit of lacquer thinner will surely help it. Well, what did happen in about 0.3 seconds is that it dissolved all the numbers on the faceplate, and then I decided to end the cleaning procedure right there and then. After I regained consciousness, I decided that I would need to open up this sealed unit. It comes as a one unit, and remove the faceplate with those 2 screws there, and all I need is just a new faceplate. What can be any simpler than that? I decided that this ring that's crimped around it to seal the unit, the 2 halves, the upper and the lower, I decided to carefully start at one point and carefully chisel it out or bend it with a screwdriver out, little by little, very nicely and evenly, not on the top side where you can see that it's being worked on, but on the underside where you won't see it when I crimp it back on and bend it back on. So I separated the 2 halves and removed the faceplate and the needle. They come apart like so, and the faceplate I pre-loosened, it's not this wobbly, and went to the dealership looking for parts. Of course they don't sell a faceplate because the manufacturer doesn't anticipate that anybody would pour in lacquer thinner that would dissolve all the numbers on the faceplate. So of course they don't sell a faceplate. They sell the whole unit as as a single piece for one price tag. A faceplate is not even listed. So I totally opened up the unit in vain, and at that point I decided that I would need a replacement speedometer, a whole speedometer. I finally found one because nobody makes a new speedometer. But the problem with it was that this one reads 39,389, but the new speedometer read, I don't know, 75,000. So I decided yet again to overdo things, and I would just need to spin the new speedometer, used new speedometer, from its 75,000 kilometer reading all the way up to 99,999, and then 1 more kilometer and it would read 0000 again, and would spin it forward until it reaches 39,000, so I can replace this one with one that's showing exactly the same distance driven. For that I figured that I would use this Speedo cable, and I decided to pull the inside out. They do come out just as easily, just like so. And actually you need to clean it every so often because dirt gets into it, and just dip it in oil and lubricate the whole thing. And you can see that this one has a square end on this side. This one goes into the speedometer mechanism, and when it spins, when it spins, you can see what happens inside. If I remove just this part here really carefully, you can see a spring inside there. That's a flat spring, and when I'm going to put the needle back on so you have a sense of movement. So when I spin it, I can't spin it with my hand too fast, but you can see that the needle is moving as I spin it, and you can also see that this part is rotating, and you can see the flat coil spring, much like the ones used in watches, that I suspected to be dirty or not responsive, or that would make this needle bouncy, and so because it wasn't steady, like I said. So this is how it works. When I spin it, you can see that this thing moves on it. Okay, I can't spin it nearly fast enough, so I'm just going to do it this way. Alright, you got the idea. I hooked it up to a drill because it wasn't spun by hand. I hooked it up to a power drill, and I noticed that as they were connected, that this speedo cable was oscillating about yay, so I tried to make it straighter. It was still oscillating, and it would work itself out from the speedometer in a matter of minutes. I tried it in different configuration. Finally I ended up with a shape that looked kind of like this. It seemed to be stable, but that seeming stability didn't last. At one point it just twisted itself into a super tight loop and ripped itself apart. This is the end that was chucked into the drill, and this is the part that goes to the wheel, to the front wheel, where it meshes in with some gearing mechanism that spins this, that moves that little needle, and also through some gearing it moves the odometer numbers. So now I had a destroyed speedometer, a destroyed speedo cable, and I had an old speedometer that was reading on its odometer 75,000 kilometers. That was the end of my damage list. I couldn't take any more, and I only advanced with this power drill maybe 200 kilometers, if that, and it took me 3 days of experimenting. And at this point I just mounted that odometer back on the bike and just sold it with it, pretending and not changing my story that it's got 75,000 kilometers on its odometer, and that is it. I didn't want to share this misery with the owner, with the new owner. So here is a repair story that I learned a lot, and I wanted to share it with you. So if you repeat the same steps, you are probably going to get the same results. Whether it's worthwhile, it's up to you to decide, but if you like learning from others' mistakes like mine, there it is.